All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NAV Lab. We're toying with some names. I think we're going to go with the NAV Lab. But today we have Russ Brooks, powerful athlete, family man, and top producing agent. Russ kind of runs our Springs team and has been maybe the top producer on the team for the past few years. Russ and I have known each other for quite a long time. Went to your wedding in Austin, Texas. I was there. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, Russ, so introduce yourself to the world. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you got started in real estate. Maybe talk about how we met at 24 Hour Fitness.
Yeah, back in the day, right? Man, that was quite an introduction, man. There's a lot of stuff going on there, flying around.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe, I'm a dad. I'm a real estate agent. Trying to balance all of that. Down in the Springs, like you said. I'm from Illinois, so moved to Colorado in 2015 of July. Bo and I trained at 24 Hour Fitness, both slanging the training, I guess you could say. And then Bo actually brought me on the team. Remember? I called you up that one day.
Yep.
You're like, man, what's real estate all about? And then you told me, and you're like, yeah, you should do it. And I was like, all right. And then we did it. And then took my test. Didn't pass it the first time, actually. Barely missed it. And then took it a second time 2 days later. And then just hit the bare minimum. And then I remember calling you, and you're like, okay, forget all that stuff. You ready to start real estate now? Because they didn't teach you how to be an agent. They just told you how to take all the classes. So, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of my story. I mean, I was, we were training, and we both kind of didn't see the value that we were trying to help people, but it just wasn't the same. We were doing the grind and not really seeing the benefit, right? So I was like, man, let's try this real estate thing. So,
yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't think many people passed the first time. I think I passed the national first time and missed, was one question away from passing on the state. And then I went back literally the next day and passed. And I think I passed by like one question the second time.
Same, yeah.
And then someone said the same thing to me. It's like, hey, so glad you passed. Good job. Good test taker. Now let's learn how to run a business.
Right.
And yeah, I could tell you what a lot and block and parcel is. I actually can't tell you.
I have an idea of what it is. I forgot what that is.
Yeah, it's like a certain amount of acres. Yeah, I don't know.
In a development or something? Yeah.
So when are you doing your bodybuilding competition?
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm still actually 200 weeks out, which comes out to like 4.5 years. So lots of ups and downs, phantom injuries. Yeah, so.
I remember when we were training, you were preparing.
Yeah.
But you were still like 400 weeks out or something?
Yeah, I started with 400 weeks out. But actually, do you remember when I started the Powerful Athlete competition and you won?
I won.
I thought you were going to bring this up. I actually thought you were going to bring this up. So I brought it up before you, so you couldn't bring it up.
Oh, dang. I think about that once a week.
Really?
For the last 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, or 7 years. Yeah, Russ created a competition at the gym at 24 Hour Fitness. And I think you did it like the day I wasn't there. And I came in the next day, and there's this whiteboard with everyone's names and times. And I'm like, what is this?
Right.
And then I did it, and I almost died.
Right.
It was like you had to do so many exercises in like 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to win this. And it was like, I just remember afterwards, like I got the best time, but I was like, this was not worth it. This was like 0% worth it to do that to myself. I remember being like, I couldn't breathe for like a good like hour. Like something was wrong with my lungs from overexertion, I think. Yeah, good times. Yeah, so Russ joined the brokerage. I helped train you, but that was back before we really knew what we were doing in terms of training. We had scripts and some things, but our philosophy was kind of just throw you into the fire, turn you
Yeah.
on to leads. I remember like your first lead. I think you were at the office, and I like heard your conversation, or we played it back or something.
I think you were staring at me when I was on the phone.
Yeah.
And it made it really awkward
It
and
was-
hard for me to do.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, I was like, you got a long ways to go, Russ. And then now you're like the best. And not because of me, that's for sure. You went all in. And that's something that I wanted to bring up is like, out of everyone on the team, everyone starts at the same spot, right?
Right.
Everyone gets the same scripts. Everyone gets, very similar training for the most part. And you started slow. I remember you just got married. You went on a honeymoon to Africa for like a month.
I was still training part-time, remember?
Still training part-time.
I didn't cut the ties. There was
Yeah.
their plan B was kind of in the balance still.
Yeah, you had a plan B, which we normally tell people don't have plan B.
It's plan A or nothing.
Plan A or nothing. And then you got back from your honeymoon, and you went all in. You stopped training, and you started crushing it. And so I was going to ask, was last year your best year in real estate, or was it the year before?
In terms of most deals and volume, last year was.
How many deals?
45.
45, cool.
Almost 17 million gross.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Did you, so you're plugged into Zillow, right?
Right.
We have a Zillow spin down in the Springs. Do you think that, was it fun to do that much deals? Like work-life balance was like, is it worth the reward?
Man. The thing I love about real estate is that like your potential is uncapped, and I look at everything as an opportunity, and I look at everything as being like exponential. So that next deal I close is like potentially like a lot, like friends, family, all the stuff. So when you asked me about the work-life balance, I was kind of like, no, I didn't have a real great work-life balance, to be honest. But I was like, man, we were, rates were really low. We were in a time where it's like, I gotta make this hay while the sun is shining. And I was like, I don't know if a lot of people have the same opportunity as like I had right in front of me. So I was like, man, I just gotta go all in still, keep going all in, because I know that like this is my fourth full year of real estate. So I was just like, man, when I get to that 5th year, 6th year, 7th year, maybe I'll be just strictly all referral, and I'll have like people where I can just pass things to, because like I put in all the work the 4 years before, like always claiming, always on. So I was like, this is where I got to be where I can really set myself up for success later, because there's going to be hard times. It's up and down. Like right now we got rates 6.5. I had a lender tell me the other day that they could lock in somebody at 4.75, and I'm not really sure if that's true, but
Yeah, for $20,000.
yeah, right, yeah. Like it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, but we can make it happen. I was like, I don't know.
I mean, let's talk to them. That sounds pretty great. That's
if
funny.
it's real.
well, I'm glad you said that, right? That mentality of like, I'm going to sacrifice some time now to reap the rewards later, right? And what you just said, we don't preach, but we let everyone know, like, you have this opportunity to, you don't have referrals right now. You're just starting your business.
Right.
Plug into Zillow. Claim every lead possible.
Right.
Close as many deals as possible.
Right.
Because once you do that, and you close as many deals as you've had, right? Now I'm sure your phone is starting to blow up with people that are wanting to buy again, wanting to sell. They've got friends, right? You're probably starting to change to a majority referral business. I know you're still claiming a ton of leads, but now you're probably like so busy, which I know you are. But I think, and like Matt's a good example, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think Matt's the one who like kind of turned you on to this idea of like, hey man, get it while the getting's good. Because one day we might not have Zillow. One day it might not be this easy to just turn on leads and get some business.
Right.
So if we can take advantage of it now, it's going to set ourselves up for success in the future. I think that's exactly what you're doing, and I think it's really going to pay off. So are you doing anything to nurture those people after you're close with them? I know there's like, Myself personally, right?
Right.
I run a 80 to 90% referral business over the last 3 years.
Right.
I still claim Zillow leads when I need to.
Supplement. Yeah.
But I get calls, right? And I will say that I don't do much to generate referrals. I have this like strategy of like every time I'm in someone's neighborhood that I help buy or sell, I text them and I say, hey, I was in your neighborhood today showing houses. I saw your neighbor just sold for, I'll look up like a recent sale, within like half a mile. Your neighbor just sold for 800,000, right? And they bought for 700. Looks like home values are doing great. I'll send this like same text to everyone.
Sure.
It'll start a conversation. How you been? How's the kids? Whatever. But that's like all I really do. I normally get a notification in Boomtown, someone's anniversary of their sale.
Right.
Send them a text. But I have been pretty terrible. So back to my question, are you doing anything to kind of feed that part of your business?
Yeah. So actually this kind of brings it back to when I first started. Matt, our employee broker, Matt Rosenfeld, his play was volume and the Zillow and connecting with Zillow. And I was like, man, that's a great one. And then we had somebody at our brokerage, Johnny Malott. He ran strictly off referral. And I was like, man, what if I did both of those things at the same time? Like, wouldn't that be epic? So that's what I tried to do. So like right after I started claiming the leads, because we didn't have any leads in the spring, so I moved down. We built our house, remember? So I hopped on leads, owned my own lead spend for me, took a risk or just taking on that lead spend. And then basically I also started taking the Buffini course. They have like the peak producers thing. So there's a lot of different things you can do. You can do peak producers. You can do your own way of following up with people. You can do ninja selling. That's a popular one here. The guy that created it, he's out of Fort Collins. So have you listened to ninja selling?
I have.
Yeah. It's all the same stuff, right? It's just like staying consistent and doing the thing.
Yep.
And so I bought in on Buffini because that's what Johnny was doing. He was closing like 20 deals a year, all referrals. And I was like, man, that's sweet. You don't have to pay for leads. You don't have to do all that. What if you could do both? What if I could build my business to where Johnny's is in a shorter amount of time, and also still claim leads and still do well with that too? So that's what I ran with. But your question was, what do I do? So I do the Buffini. I took the Peak Producers course. It's like 16 weeks, and you have it's an hour long, and you have like a homework thing you do every week, and you do all the stuff, right? But then I sign people up. I send an email once a month. I send something in their mail, like snail mail, like to their house. I call on birthdays. I call on purchase anniversaries. That's kind of all I really do, but I get a lot of touches with my past clients. One thing that I really want to do that I haven't yet because of COVID and whatnot, I want to do the client preferred client parties. Do like once a quarter and just have everybody come and hang and invite the lender, the inspector, and then because then I can really reconnect with people again, because I haven't done that, and I've seen a lot of really successful agents doing that, and I'm like, man, I need to get on that. So I think that's the key to growing.
Okay. What do you mean by preferred client?
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably not the right term, right? Yeah.
It's like your one client who like follows you on Instagram and like doesn't get an invite but sees all the posts.
Yeah, they're liking all my statuses and they don't get the so no, not a preferred client, just a past client. Any past client would be a preferred client, right? So obviously there's going to be clients that have referred you people, and there's going to be clients that are repeat business. I would consider those people higher up on the list because you have a relationship with them, you've done multiple transactions with them, you really want to. I personally really am grateful for that and appreciate that and want to reciprocate that appreciation for them trusting me with multiple transactions and trusting me with friends and family and stuff like that. So
cool.
Yeah.
I took a class once. An agent does 20 million a year, all referrals. And his strategy was he has 50 people in like his pipeline. These are like his referral generators. So out of all those 50 people, he takes every single one of them to dinner throughout the year, right?
Okay.
So he's got 54 weeks. How many how many dinners can he do, and then some of those people he said he might take out once a month if they're giving him like referrals all the time. Like he said, he has a past client who is a financial advisor.
Ooh,
so anytime someone's like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting some more real estate or whatever,
I got the guy.
he refers them, right? So that guy, he's taking to dinner, taking to Vegas for a weekend or something, really treating that guy because he's getting a bunch of business from him. But that's his strategy, right? He has those 50 people,
right,
and he's touching on every single one every month.
Right.
That's his like 50 calls, right? And then he has his client calls or whatever.
Current business, yeah.
But I thought that was a really good strategy, and he's doing 20 million a year, so that's I'd love to do 20 million a year, right?
Man, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah,
you need an assistant full time at that point, I think.
Yeah, are you getting an assistant?
I have a virtual assistant. I'm thinking about.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those things, man. It's like it could be worth its. You got to pay, right? So it's going to cut into your income, but it allows you to just open up your business and be more available on the things that you need to do and the things admin kind of stuff, behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had 11 under contract at one time. It was my best. Like they all closed within like 30 days too.
Yeah,
and
so inspections like every day.
I was freaking out. I don't use a TC.
Oh yeah, you're one of those.
So I actually use Carrie. Is that
Carrie?
Yeah. So I called her during that time, and I was like, hey, I've got all this business, like they're already under contract, yada yada. And I was like getting close to closing on like all of them by the time I called her, and she was like, cool, well next time you get a contract, just send it over, yada yada, walk me through it. And I was like, so you're not gonna help with like what I have? And she's like, well, you're like basically there. So I was like, okay, I'll get you on the next one. And then
they never did.
Well, I did what everyone does. I was so busy that I closed my 11th one and then didn't have anything for a while.
And then you're like, what happened?
Yeah. So
it's a classic rookie mistake, man.
I know. By the time I got someone under contract, I was like, well, I don't need it now. So I have 5 right now, which is the most I've had in a while at once. I don't know, man. I like running the deals are the easiest part for me. I'm going to make excuses for not having a TC all day.
Sounds like it.
I think one day maybe I'll get one.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Well, so you have 2 kids.
2 kids.
You travel a lot, and you're running this crazy business. Any tips for someone who wants to be someone who wants to do 45 deals a year, but also, make time for family, 'cause, as I know you do?
Yeah. Make sure you make time for yourself, I think is something I learned. The moment I start working out, I'm like, man, all of this kind of just melts away. I can figure this out. And as long as it's not like urgent, I'm like, okay, I have to do this for myself so I can feel good about the rest of my day kind of thing. And the TC, which you said you don't have. But when I first started, I was so against it too. I was like, I don't want to get a TC. I'm too much of a control freak. I can't just let the reins go. But then Johnny, when I was talking to him, and he's like, well, what kind of business do you want to run? Do you want to run the business where you're doing 40 deals a year? And he's like, well, if you get a TC, you'll be able to do that. You'll free yourself up for that, and you won't be as stressed. You have a better work-life balance. And then he was like, also, think about how much that TC costs you. If you do 2 more deals because you have a TC, well, it's paid for itself, and you have a better work-life balance. And I was like, oh, I'm sold. And that's when I just called Carrie. And the other thing he told me, he says, don't wait to do it until you're busy. Get ahead of it, because I had a baby on the way. Yeah. He's like, get ahead of it, do it now, and see it, test the water, see if you like it, see what they do. And her processes have made it better. Like, I'm better at my job because she does it for all kinds of agents all the time. So I'm seeing how she does it. I'm like, oh, that's a way better way to write that email. That's a way better to close out this deal. Like, hey, these are your utilities. Like, here it is. Call these people. Like, all that stuff. So she's made me better, and I call her like once a week. She's great. So she helps me a lot.
Cool.
So
yeah, a lot of people on the team use her. I think her and her team.
Yeah. She's got a team.
Cool. So I've been seeing a lot about the real man bear pick.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Well, you watch South Park, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know who that man bear pig is.
Yeah.
Well, I see another one on
On the Peloton?
On the Peloton.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the leaderboards.
Yeah, this is an open challenge to anybody who would like to challenge me. I'm the real man bear pig on Peloton. So if you guys want to challenge me to a ride, just let me know. Just send me a DM and we'll see who can ride faster and better, you know. So when you get your Peloton, I already talked to Corey because Corey's probably the most competitive person in the office. I was like, hey, Corey, do you have I texted him super early in the morning too on purpose, like 5 in the morning. I'm like, hey, Corey, are you up? Do you have a Peloton? And he's like, no, not yet. Should I get one? I was like, I don't know, man. I challenge you once a week if you wanted to and see who's better. So. Do
you wake up at 5 a.m. and you do your Peloton?
Yeah, nobody calls me at 5 a.m. It's the best.
Yeah.
My wife and my kids are asleep.
I will never call you at 5 a.m.
I didn't call. I texted him.
Okay.
I was texting him because I was like, okay, this is the gentle way of saying, hey, I was up this early working out. What were you doing? But he was already up. He texted me when I was on the bike. I was like, oh dang
nice. Yeah.
But yeah, South Park reference, you know.
Yeah.
So
I met the CEO of Peloton.
What?
At Zillow conference.
In Vegas?
He was a guest speaker. This was like 2017, 2018, I think. He gave me a Peloton hat that I then donated to the ARC store because I thought it was the stupidest idea ever. And then we went into a pandemic. And I
now
was like,
you're wrong.
I was super wrong. Yeah. And he was telling everyone, like, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. You know, he gave a whole speech. He had started a bunch of other companies and stuff. And he was like, this is it. This is where fitness is going. It's to your house.
Right.
And then he started COVID. And, you know, he's to blame, I think.
Yeah. Probably.
But, yeah, I mean, they blew up. And then now their stocks came back down a little bit. But that's awesome. You have a Peloton. And you also like to mountain bike.
Oh yeah, you gotta come down, dude.
Yeah, we should go.
You're probably in better shape than I am.
I have been injured from jiu-jitsu, so
Is your toe?
I'm out of shape. My foot and my thumb are both pretty messed up right now.
Dang, that seems super uniquely weird that you hurt those two things.
Yeah. But the rest of my body feels really good now because I haven't been going to jiu-jitsu. So like, I've been in the gym every day.
Okay.
Getting stronger. So, you know how it goes. Yeah. And my real estate business has really taken off because now I'm not going to jiu-jitsu at 6 p.m. every day.
Right.
And I could be out showing houses and
right at prime time.
Doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I want to ask you a little bit. So we have a team now in the Springs. How is that going? I know you're coaching, mentoring agents down there as well. We just finished creating, well, I guess in January we finished it up,
right.
This coaching and mentorship program. How's that going? And yeah, how's the team going? I want to find out more about like your goals in terms of growing the team down there.
Yeah, I think Matt and I have the same goal. We want to open an office in the Springs. You know, it's going to be hard to beat this office though. You know, it's a pretty rad spot.
Man, I think you and your business is going to attract a lot of agents to want to.
Oh yeah, like join. the formula, the blueprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you're going to be training people to do things how you do it,
right?
Which I think is like when we used to interview agents. We still interview agents, but what I used to say, I don't want to say it much anymore, is like Matt would sit there and tell people like how he runs his business. And this is even like when we're just all hanging out, like Matt will talk about what he's doing and like his successes and things like that when he was running, you know, a 50 deal a year business.
Yeah.
And I would look at whoever he was talking to and I'd be like, hey, Matt is Matt. Matt runs his business the way he runs it because he can, right?
Right.
I'm not Matt. I can't run Matt's business because I don't talk like Matt. I don't do the same things Matt does. So I thought about that a lot as like, is that me making up an excuse on why I'm not doing 50 deals a year? But, I mean, Matt will tell you, like, he might send an email a certain way or, like, he says it this way.
Right.
But it's like from the second he met that client till closing, he's doing it his way. Right. Which I think was hard to imitate because you don't think like he does. You're not working the same angles with negotiations, all that stuff. So my question for you is like, do you think the way you're able to run your business is repeatable and other agents can plug in and do it the same way? Or do you think it's just, you just have the skill set because you've worked in a lot of past jobs, is my understanding, where you're dealing with people, right?
Yeah.
I know in personal training, you're creating those relationships.
Right.
You're, as people can tell so far on the podcast, you're good at BSing with people. I think is like a skill that you have, and just like being charismatic and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as like a new agent coming on your team down there, do you think you're going to be able to replicate your success?
Oh, of course.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, so the job itself is easy, right? It's just executing. And I think a lot of people, they get in their own heads about either lead spend or should I do this? Am I doing a good job? Am I good enough? And it's just like, just do it. And if you don't do well, just don't make that same mistake again. And anybody could do this job, I think. I mean, obviously you need to have the right personality and the right wants. You know, if you don't like doing it, then maybe not. But if you want to do it, I think almost anybody could do this job. It's just a matter of being disciplined. It actually surprises me that a lot of people, like, you know, our leads here in Denver, they're plentiful and bountiful, higher price point than the spring. So I'm surprised that more people don't take advantage of that. But to each their own too. Like if people don't want that kind of business or that work-life balance, and that's on them and their choice. And I support whatever anybody wants to do. But I think it's super repeatable. I think you just got to put in the work and just execute, which is like a lot of things in life that a lot of people don't do. So.
Yeah. I think that's been like, so we're on the fourth podcast now. It's kind of been the overall theme of like, I ask someone how they're successful and they're like, well, you just got to work hard.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not hard. You just have to be disciplined and do the work.
Yeah.
Right. There's like a really famous like Dana White, owner of the UFC, quote.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say verbatim. There's some explicit words in there, but he's basically saying that like, especially nowadays, like there's a lot of lazy people out there.
Oh yeah.
And if you're willing to grind, like the sky's the limit. You can take over.
Right.
And in my opinion, that's what you did, right? You're like, okay, if I just grind, I'm going to crush it.
Right.
And you've been crushing it. So that's awesome. Anything you're excited about for this year in terms of real estate or?
Yeah. The team, man. I'm excited. We have somebody new on the team, Tom. Mm-hmm. And Tom was a tennis pro. So
yeah.
tennis.
I got lunch with him that day.
Yeah. So, and then he told me, he's like, yeah, kind of doing the route. I told him, like, yeah, no, I didn't start right away. But then as soon as I did, that's when things took off for me. And he's like, okay. He went home and talked to his wife. He called me back. He's like, hey, I'll put in my 2 weeks notice. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So when he did that, I was like, oh, I'm excited for you because, you know, he's committing to this. I'm committing to him. So I want him to do well. I mean, mutually beneficial. Like if he does well, the team does well. I have more support. I got more people answering the leads, so we're not missing anything. Lead cost goes down the more leads we answer. Yep. Just another reliable person that if I go out of town, which I'm going out of town this Thursday, and I'm like, oh, man, I know what's going to happen. Like every time you leave town, it's like everybody needs to write offers today. They needed, you know, like it's like.
Well, if you need some business, just go out of town.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's what I should do. I told my wife we just need to go on vacations, and then
you'll get so busy, dude.
Yeah, you just close deals all the time.
Yeah. That's
so yeah, the team, the new people. We also have some other people joining, and they're getting their stuff in order, and they're about to get hit the ground running, I think. So, and then previous people on the team, you know, they expressed to me, you know, they had some life events going on, new kids, all the stuff that happens when you have kids and marriages and whatnot. And they're like, man, I just didn't do what I needed to do. I need you to be honest with me. What do I need to do to like take this off? And I was like, do the work. And they're like, okay, let's do the work. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Any advice that you would give a new agent? I know, like, I think about the things that I like train people on. and then we're done training, and then like I might pull them aside, or they're having an issue or something,
Yeah.
like give them some advice.
Yeah.
Right? It's separate from like the business. It's like, hey, here's how you have to think about this, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Is there any advice you give to new agents, or that you might start giving to a new agent?
I think the one that you told me, there's a couple things, right? One of them is what the challenges of the job is going to be is not what you think it's going to be. Yeah. It's actually dealing with other agents, other agents' egos. Maybe your skill set isn't as good as it needs to be with managing and setting expectations. So that's the biggest thing, I think, in real estate is just being honest. And like, because somebody's being unrealistic, you kind of need to tell them in the nicest way possible and say, hey, like, I'm a professional. Like, what your expectation isn't probably achievable. And I have to tell you that so that when it doesn't happen, I can say, like, hey, we did this, or maybe I'm not the right fit. So that I don't set your expectations here, and I already know I'm going to end up here. Story month. So, like, you know, like just trying to manage expectations. Don't lie. Don't bullshit an answer you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can curse on this.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
We're adults here.
Well, soon to be adult, probably.
Soon to be.
Yeah.
I don't have kids yet, so.
Yeah. I don't think kids makes you an adult, but it definitely makes you act more like an adult sometimes.
Nice.
But yeah, I think just not lying, which sounds so easy, but I feel like a lot of people miss that, you know? Or they're like, yeah, like, well, we can get you that house for $10K under and get you this, and this. And it turns out that there's 5 offers in hand, and it's not going to be that way, or you're not going to win the offer that way. So I think just being realistic, being honest. Yeah.
Cool. That's great advice. There is like you learn how to talk to people in a way that you are just constantly managing expectations. And you might say like, hey, you know, I recently got someone under contract for $10,000 under list price. Right. However, the home was on the market for 60 days.
Yeah.
This home's been on the market for 6 hours. I don't think we're going to be able to get it, but we can absolutely try.
Right.
It's just we have like a 3% chance.
Right. That's managing the expectations.
And you're managing expectations, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to rank people's offers. Like, hey, guys,
this is a
great offer. However, this is probably like a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Right. And from what the agent told me, they have like a 9 out of 10 already. Right. So like you're not going to beat that other offer if what they told me is true. Right. And then it kind of puts things in perspective. Like it's like real estate's like a big reality check, and it's a reality check for buyers, for sellers, and for agents too. Right. And sometimes, a lot of times, people learn the hard way. The amount of buyers, for me personally, that get the first home they offer on is pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, that's normal.
Yeah, but the second home they offer on, high likelihood they get it, right?
Because they listen to you.
They listen to you, right? And that's the art, right? It's like, how do you get people to listen to you? And sometimes they don't. And it's not your job to force them to listen to you. Right. It's your job to educate them and help them to learn. And sometimes you're going to learn the hard way. Cool. So to wrap things up here, a question I've been asking each of the guests, what's the craziest thing or weirdest thing you ever saw in a showing?
Let me... I haven't seen anything too crazy. Like, I saw Landon's story. I was like, dang, that's wild. I haven't had anything like that. I've had awkward moments. Okay. I have actually a photo album because I'm going to write a book when I retire one day. And I'll probably just email it to all my clients. It's not going to have words. It's just going to be a photo album of all the weird stuff I've seen.
I have the same album on my phone. Yeah.
Okay. You can't steal my idea, though.
Okay.
But okay. But anyway, so I don't know. One time I saw a Vin Diesel quote in someone's garage. Okay. It says, I live my life 1/4 mile at a time. And I was like, that is the cheesiest, most epic thing I've seen in a house. Yeah. And I saw Rusty Saw in Crawl Space once.
Okay.
So I don't really have any cool stories. I just got cool stuff that I see. So stuff like that.
Cool. Every time I ask this question, I like remember something else that I saw.
Well, you've
Yeah.
been in it longer than me, so hopefully you've seen some real shit. Hopefully.
Yeah. I recently had a client who was allergic to cats, and there were two cats in the house with no mention of the cats. And the guy was from Jamaica, and very like charismatic, loud, like hilarious guy. And he turned the corner in the bathroom and was like looking at the toilet, and then all of a sudden he's looking at the bathroom, right, and he screams, and and I like come running, right, because he's like in terror, and there's a cat like hiding behind the toilet, right, and we're like, oh my god, and then he gets out of there, right, because like he's allergic to cats. And then finally we're like in the kitchen wrapping up the showing, and he likes the house, right? And he's telling me how he likes the house, and I'm like, cool. And it's a townhome, and he's like, oh wait, we didn't see the furnace and water here. I'm like, oh, it's right there. And there's like this little closet in the kitchen. I'd already looked at it. So he like opens the door to the closet, and there's literally a cat sitting on top of the furnace, and
terrifying.
it jumps through the air at him, like literally, and he like matrixes this cat, right? And it lands like on the bar, and there's like bills that have been coming to the cellar, and they like go everywhere. He's screaming at this point, right? And just like we're all like, oh my god, like, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do. I'm laughing and screaming as this cat's just like running across the bar and it like hits the wall and just like shoots off. And then I'm like looking at him, and he's like holding his chest, and I'm like, this dude's about to have a heart attack. And he's like hunched over, and he like raises up, and he's like, there's cats everywhere, and like in his like Jamaican accent, and he's like, we gotta get out of here. And then he buys the house. The best part, yeah. So he closes on the house. I tell this story, for a while. Yeah, crazy. But I have a lot of animal stories, I think, from showings.
I feel like that's like the most common thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever had a cat like escape?
No. I have like I don't want to say I have a boring career, but I haven't seen anything crazy. I mean, yet.
Well, maybe you have let a cat escape and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Go to the backyard and leave the door open.
Get out of here, dude. Like, no, I haven't yet. No scares. Actually, recently, I accidentally took a key from an appointment. This is my crazy story, right? So, like, it was an hour away. I took the key. I thought I locked the door. I didn't lock the door. And then the agent calls me at like 11 at night. And he's like, hey, did you forget to lock the door and put the key back? And I was like, no. And then he's like, well, you did. And I was like, oh, no. What happened was I went to another showing 2 hours away from my house, had the key in my pocket, forgot to shut the door because I always put my key back. I went to the next appointment, took the keys from the second appointment, put it in my pocket, and then after that appointment, put all the keys in that box. And it was on a Supra box, which is they use it down in like Pueblo. So I had to get special permission. I had to drive 2 hours there the next day, get the key, found it. I didn't know if it was in there. I had no clue. I thought I might have been driving there for no reason. Yeah. Drove it back. I had to go talk to the sellers. I'm like, tail between my legs, like, hey, I'm sorry. I was moving too fast. I didn't return the key. All while Tom was with me, the new agent, shadowing me, and I'm like, "Hey, Tom, don't do this. Like, this is a rookie mistake." Yeah. So, yeah, that's about the most extent of any of my stories.
Yeah, I remember the first time I did it. It was in the heat of the market in like April, and agent calls me like an hour after I get back to the office. It was about an hour away during rush hour. She's like, "Hey, we got people trying to see the house. Did you take the key?" And I'm like, "No." And then in my pocket. I'm like, "Oh my god!" It took me like an hour to get back. There's literally like 15 groups outside the house,
and and
it's like 5 o'clock on a Friday, and I'm like, "Yeah, someone took the key. I'm bringing it back for you guys." You know. Like,
actually, I'm the hero because I did bring it back and answered my phone. So sorry.
Yeah, I've definitely shown in like a condo building, shown like 4 units.
Yeah,
and got 4 keys at once, and then ended up like getting back to the lockboxes and being like, oh, I don't know which keys to which.
I've never done that.
Just put one in each. Normally, I'll literally type out in my phone, front right, front left, back right.
Pockets?
Put my pockets and put that key in each pocket.
Right.
And then when I get back to the lockbox, I'm kind of organized.
Right.
Yeah, it's an art. It's an art.
Yeah.
Showing, like, I always joke, like, finding the key and then getting the door unlocked is like 30% of the difficulty of real estate.
Oh yeah, I'm a pro at opening doors now.
Dude.
I tell people that all the time.
Sometimes you can't find the lockbox, and you look like
It's
an
like
idiot.
it's like a wild goose chase,
Yeah.
man. It's like one of those geocaches. Like, you know, you're like, okay, you got to go to this lockbox. You have to tap on the door 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. Especially condos in Denver. Here, we don't have that so much in the Springs, but we have sentry boxes, which is just a real treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. If you're down in the Springs, you need a good agent, or up here, Russ will make the drive for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. If you like the video, you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We'll see you in the next video soon.
We'll
Peace.
see ya.
Is that good? Did you want to say some last words?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't have any last words. I feel like that's like if you're about to be murdered. Do you have any last words?
Should I